hosted plenty of dinner parties, but one night changed everything. It left a mystery I may never solve. It was supposed to be a simple gathering. Just close friends, Daniel, Olivia, Marcus, and Sophie. We laughed, shared stories, and enjoyed the evening. Among us was a newcomer, Ethan, a quiet man who had recently moved to town. I invited him to make him feel welcome. Ethan was polite but distant. He barely spoke, his eyes constantly darting around like he was expecting something. As the night went on, his unease grew. Then, without warning, he stood up. "I have to go," he muttered before rushing out the door. His sudden exit left us unsettled, but we brushed it off. Maybe he felt unwell. Maybe he was just shy. But days passed and no one heard from Ethan. Worry crept in. I went to check on him. His car sat in the driveway, but no lights were on. No movement inside. I knocked, no answer. Ethan had vanished. The police got involved, but no trace of him was ever found. No signs of foul play, no clues, nothing. It was as if he had never existed. Then, strange things began happening. At night, I heard whispers outside my house. Shadows flickered at the edge of my vision. An eerie feeling of being watched became a constant in my life. Determined to find answers, I went back to Ethan's house. I searched through his belongings, hoping for a clue. Then I found it, his journal. The last entry was written the night of the dinner. I can't escape it. It's here, watching, waiting. I have to leave before it's too late. I read the words over and over, my hands trembling. What had Ethan been afraid of? Had something been after him? I handed the journal to the police, but it led nowhere. The case remained open, but no new leads ever surfaced. Years have passed, yet the memory still haunts me. Some nights I still hear whispers outside. I still feel unseen eyes watching. Maybe Ethan was running from something that finally caught him. Maybe whatever he feared didn't stop with him. Maybe it's watching me now. Ethan had always been the life of the party. Carefree, full of energy, always ready for a good time. At 21, he was living the best years of his life, balancing college, friendships, and late-night adventures. As his mother, I sometimes worried, but he was responsible, or so I thought. One Friday night, he went out with his usual group of friends. It wasn't unusual for him to stay out late, so I didn't think much of it. But when the doorbell rang at midnight, a strange unease crept over me. When I opened the door, Daniel, one of Ethan's closest friends, stood there, practically holding Ethan up. My son's body was limp, his head lolled to the side, his feet dragging on the floor. He was beyond drunk. "I'm sorry," Daniel said, shifting Ethan's weight onto me. "He had a little too much tonight." My heart pounded. I wasn't mad at Daniel, just relieved he had brought Ethan home safely. Together, we struggled to get him into bed. Ethan barely stirred as we laid him down, his breathing slow but steady. "Are you sure he's okay?" I asked, glancing at Daniel. "Yeah," he nodded. "He just needs to sleep it off." With that, Daniel left, and I spent the night checking on Ethan. By morning, he woke up groggy, with no memory of the night before, just a splitting headache. Life moved on. A year passed, until one evening, my world shattered. Breaking news. Young man found dead in hotel room. Last seen with an unknown acquaintance. I froze. The police had released a sketch of the suspect. The image on the screen sent a chill down my spine. It looked just like Daniel. My hands trembled as I called Ethan into the room. The moment he saw the screen, His face went pale. "Mom, that looks like Daniel." His voice was barely a whisper. We rushed to the police station. Officers confirmed our worst fear. Daniel had been arrested. He had befriended another young man, taken him to a secluded hotel, and ended his life. A cold shiver ran down my spine. Ethan had been with Daniel that night a year ago. If Daniel had made a different choice, if he had taken Ethan somewhere else instead of bringing him home, my son might not be alive today. Even now, the thought haunts me. It was a freezing September night when my friends, Jake, Noah, Emily and I, decided to go on a night drive. We love chasing thrills, so when Noah mentioned an abandoned mansion rumored to be haunted, we couldn't resist. The house stood like a decayed giant, its broken windows like empty eyes. Vines strangled the walls, and the air smelled of damp rot. Ignoring the unease creeping in, we stepped inside. The floor creaked beneath us and dust swirled in our flashlight beams. Broken furniture and shattered mirrors littered the place. Noah and Jake stayed downstairs, while Emily and I explored the upper floor. Then, a loud thud. We rushed back to find them gone. The only thing out of place was the storage room door, slightly open. Inside, a hole gaped in the floor, leading to a basement we hadn't seen before. With hesitant steps, we climbed down. The basement was damp, the air thick with mildew. That's when we saw him. A tall skeletal figure stood in the farthest corner, half hidden in shadows. His head tilted unnaturally, as if watching. Then he moved. We bolted up the ladder, slamming the trapdoor shut behind us. Jake and Noah were never found. We never spoke of that night again. And we never ever went back.